Was planning to dive into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Iceberg videos, but then when I saw this video drop, I knew what I had to do. Now, of course, before we get into the reaction, please make sure to go and support Bumbles, link at the very top of the description, like always.
Oh no, there's more of them. We're back to talk about more absurdly strong fighting game characters, and would you believe it, we haven't even scratched the surface.
I don't know which game this is from. I think there was like an older JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game. The one I know of is like a 2.5D fighter. But I can already see how annoying someone like Pet Shop would be. Iggy as well, potentially, but like both of them would have tinier hitboxes.
When it comes to overpowered characters, they come in so many different flavors that trying to sum them up in just 4 examples is pointless. You won't even get a taste for the scope. Like how about a character who can't die? Or a zoner who can't miss?
Great.
What about a character who doesn't have the necessary game mechanics to lose health? All that and more.
A character that doesn't have the necessary game mechanics to lose health. Then what is even the point of them being in a fighting game?
One more. I have 4.
Oh boy. Oh shit, no, not this archetype. When tier limits dropped in Master Duel, that's when I dropped the game as well. And from what I've heard, it hasn't gotten any better. Although, I do kind of regret not being able to try out the fighting game archetype cards. Those seem pretty cool, but I don't think they're really like good on their own. People usually play them as a separate engine in other decks, from what I've heard.
For the first game, we're gonna be talking about something really special. Bushido Blade is a PS1 fighting game developed by Lightweight and...
Oh wait, isn't this the fighting game where it's just like so realistic that matches end in like 1 or 2 hits? I don't think in even something like Samurai Showdown, matches would end that quickly.
Published by Squaresoft. In a post-Final Fantasy VII world, Squaresoft was able to put money behind unique projects, like
Neat.
Tobal 2, Final Fantasy Tactics, Parasite Eve, and Bushido Blade. Bushido Blade is a weapons-based fighter that sets itself apart from games like Soul Calibur by focusing on realism. It always confused me when I started playing Tekken why Yoshimitsu wasn't the best character. He has a sword! Why doesn't he just stab Heihachi? Is he stupid? Oh wait, he is. A lot of weapon fighters have your weapons just act as really long punches. You can walk off a broadsword through the chest, and the worst that's going to happen is your pants fall off. Bushido Blade, however, goes for the one-hit, one-kill style. Weapons in Bushido Blade are dangerous. A single well-timed shot to the head ends a match instantly. There are very few second chances in Bushido Blade, and if you want to keep going, you're going to have to give something up. Shots to the body are usually fatal, but can be survived. Shots to the head are always fatal, and shots to the limbs are even worse. You can survive, but getting hit in the arms disables most of your moveset, and getting hit in the legs forces you to crawl everywhere. Makes it real embarrassing when you lose to a quadriplegic in a sword fight. Bushido Blade is a balancing act between the simplicity of its own combat and the weight every move has. The game only has a high, medium, and low swing, but that gets paired up with characters either favoring speed to choose their battles easier, or stronger characters to make sure there are no glancing blows. With different stances for each weapon, and the ability to mix and match characters and weapons, you're always going to be thinking while fighting. Combat...
Okay, now before we get into this, like, what exactly is the OP character from this game going to be able to do? My guess is either they have the ability to one-shot you regardless of where they hit you, or this is going to be the one that can't actually take any damage for whatever reason.
In Bushido Blade is super thoughtful. You need to know your weapon, its range, the opponent's range, when to block and when to...
Actually, wait, of course, I thought that was a joke. But never mind, there's just one dude with a gun. I should have known. Ah, man. I didn't think that was going to be the case. That sounded like crazy that they would put a character like that in this game of all games.
Advance, memorize attack patterns and openings, and finally work up the nerve to go for the kill since your opponent is doing all the same things you are. It doesn't take long to learn Bushido Blade, but it takes a long time to get good at it. You're going to suffer a lot of flash finishes when you start out, but soon you'll be able to drag out fights, break down the opponent bit by bit, and when it's finally time, go in for the boom, f*** you. The game's dedication to accuracy even extends to how the Age of Swords ended real goddamn quick after we extended the murder range. Welcome, Shuvalt Kotze, a secret unlockable character you can play as following the game's survival mode, Slash Mode. He's an effeminate German cowboy hired by the game's villain to hunt down the members of his rival clan. If not for being paid, he would have no reason to even be in the country. But since the price is right, he's sniping samurai. Clearing 100 enemies in a row rewards you with the right to never lose at the game again, as Kotze is so broken that losing with him says more about your skill than it does the opponent. Kotze is the only character in the game who doesn't have the ability to select his own weapon at the start of a fight. Instead, he's stuck with only one. That one, though, is a gun. You know,
yeah. If you bring a sword to a gunfight, say goodbye to your life. It is an uphill battle. And I wonder if there is the ability to block said attack somehow, or if blocking it is just too complicated and very hard to do, or if all you can really do is just avoid it entirely by running in circles.
Normally it takes a bit of time and effort to explain a game and its mechanics and gimmicks, all of the characters, and how one character can be so much better than all the rest. But this time I really don't think I have to explain it, because he has a gun! Here's how long the average Kotze match lasts. Here's how long 2 Kotze matches last. Here's how long 3 Kotze matches last. There's a chance you'll survive the first shot, but Kotze has no problem rapid-firing a wounded target to make sure they stay down. You're lucky if the first shot kills you. If he takes out a limb, then either your only offensive option against him is going to be disabled, or you're going to be a sitting duck in the most dangerous range you can be against Kotze, his line of sight.
Nice.
The gun has an absurd amount of ammo to go along with it, with his Mauser pistol holding 10 shots. Kotze can play super sloppy and still steal a win whenever he wants to off the strength of being able to kill from a distance. His other tools are for if somebody actually does manage to get close to him, as he has the universal parry and a massive range maker in his double backflip. The trade-off is that his movement speed is pathetically slow, with him inching forward like he's trying to suddenly get toilet paper off of his shoe. That doesn't really matter though, since his strengths are a direct counter not just to the characters, but the entire idea of the game. Bushido Blade is all about a thoughtful approach and measured offense.
Yeah, quite literally, it's like a character that came from a very different game with incredibly different mechanics. He came from like a first-person shooter, then came in to fight all these samurai that are kind of locked into one particular moveset.
And Kotze doesn't care about that at all. Kotze doesn't need to play that game. He doesn't need to spend time getting in on his opponent. Instead, he can just stay still and wait for the opponent to test their luck. The gun's range is full screen. You can move both characters to the farthest points they can be from each other on the biggest maps in the game, and still Kotze can kill you from that distance. His poor movement speed doesn't matter when the onus for engagement is entirely on the opponent. Kotze requires zero thought. Everything he does is so absurdly safe because the opponent has no choice but to play his game if they want to win. What I was talking about earlier, that tug-of-war back-and-forth engagement as both players are making the same choices, doesn't exist in a match with Kotze because Kotze fundamentally doesn't do the same thing as any other character.
Yeah, if you're playing against one, you're basically fighting a massive uphill battle, constantly trying to dodge bullets, hoping that they waste it, going in when they're doing a different move. I don't think he can reload his gun, I would assume. So whenever he's doing the backflip, then you kind of approach and then dodge to the side whenever he tries to shoot you. But god, that's like playing chicken with a moving train. Actually, a bullet train, a literal bullet.
To fight Kotze, you have to play super timidly, more than with any other character in the game, while Kotze simply has to keep his eyes on the screen. Kotze is a black hole. You're going to try not to engage with him, but sooner or later, out of frustration or a want to get things over with, you're going to be pulled into the center, and eventually, you're going to die. Katse's greatest skill is the ability to kill patience. As you wait longer and longer, knowing that Katse has the game in the bag, the second you make a mistake, you're eventually going to get frustrated and make a sloppy move. As soon as you give up that game against him and rush him down, the second you commit to something is the second he fires. No character in the game, be they a fast or power character, has any recourse against Katse. You can't outpower him, you can't outrun his shots. Your best bet would be to land 10 perfect parries back to back until he runs out of ammo, but a single mistimed one turns into a loss. This makes the fight you have to go through against him in story mode somehow harder than the secret bosses you fight after.
Jesus.
The only way to deal with Katse is to hope the AI is dumb enough to waste all 10 shots before it can land one, which will leave him without any other offensive moves. If you're bold, you can also try to go for his legs, since Katse isn't programmed with any attacks that work with injured legs. Yeah, put that.
Hey, big brain. He's got a lot of really massive downsides that just get overshadowed by the fact that he has a gun in a game where everybody else has swords.
On the super combo page, counterplay, break his fucking legs. There is one last way though, since like with everything else in the game, Bushido Blade's round starts aren't traditional. Your opponent will give you a little monologue that you're free to move during, with Katse having an especially long one.
So
if you want
you can
just run up to him and kill him while he's talking, making it past the fight with no sweat.
Even bigger brain. Kill the villain while he's monologuing. I find it kind of interesting that there are fighting games out there that have this as a mechanic, where you can kind of move around the stage before the match starts. I wonder what the strategy there would be then. Like, both of you would probably be trying to vie for good positioning when you start the round, but you can't really hit the other person during that, so you're just pushing them and trying to threaten them the moment the round starts.
Except, that's not a good idea. See, Bushido Blade is a real stickler for the rules of sword fighting. Bushido Blade locks a story mode ending behind a criteria of following the rules of Bushido.
Yeah, it's in the name. You must fight honorably. And if I recall, when I was learning about Bushido, that was specifically when I was taking Aikido classes for my sports science degree. We had to learn like 14 different sports, and I learned about 6 or 8 martial arts. I don't recall anymore. Aikido was one of them, and we did have to study Bushido. But it seems like the general idea is to find the path that brings both you and your opponent to the best possible conclusion. And obviously it's all about honor and stuff, so yeah. Running at them and killing them during their monologue is a smart move, not an honorable one.
The game helpfully dumbs it down to a set of invisible rules during a fight so that you play fairly. There are no attacks during intros, no killing a downed opponent, no kills from behind, no kills with a throwable subweapon, and no kills while the opponent regains their footing when jumping back onto a ledge. If any of these rules are broken during any fight in story mode, it will end right after the fight with Katse with a proverb talking down to you for breaking the code. That means to get to the rest of the game, you have to beat Katse with every handicap you can think of. You have to play fair against a cheater. The worst part is you can only use Katse in the game's versus and practice modes. You're only allowed to unleash this evil on people who can give you the stink eye for doing it. Katse would also return in the game's follow-up, Bushido Blade 2, again unlockable after clearing Slash mode, this time in under 15 minutes. While sporting an even more preposterous design, Katse was somehow buffed, as one of his only weaknesses has been totally eliminated. Katse now has a taunt tied to his parry button, and if Katse is out of ammo, the taunt actually reloads his gun and gives him back all 10 shots. This means that unlike before, there's no camping him out and waiting for him to waste ammo. Now Katse can fire whenever he wants to and not even have to worry about ammo, since he can just
Holy
reload.
shit, man.
His shots are also way quicker now, which leads to absurd round lengths like this, where you just press square and the opponent drops. Bushido Blade 2 actually adds a second gun-wielding character.
Did you see how she took
Bushido
out the gun?
Blade 2 actually adds a
It's the same animation for pulling out the sword.
second gun-wielding character, Miss M16 Assault Rifle, named for her grandmother. She has an even higher caliber of weapon, and yet that increase in size isn't nearly as useful as Katse's gun. It's slow.
Hey. Visual proof that size doesn't matter.
Slower, and from my research, doesn't have the same likelihood to kill in one shot that Katse's does, thanks to most of the shots being to the body, where Katse's were to the head. While again he can only be used in multiplayer modes in Bushido Blade 2, he's still the most dominant character bar none. Kinda hard not to be when your gimmick is bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah.
And now, The Simpsons. Starring
The
Homeboy,
Simpsons.
Barf, Mars, Felicia, and Magnet. The Simpin. Only on Forks. I'm much more comfortable talking about stuff nobody knows about, makes for a much easier explanation. If you play Fortnite, you know who the Simpsons are. But Fortnite wasn't.
I do not play Fortnite, and I don't think I've really seen that many episodes of The Simpsons. I feel like I've seen one or two in passing here and there, but yeah, don't know too much about the series.
The first game to have The Simpsons in them, because you don't know how many Simpsons video games there are. This was the biggest TV show of all time for a long time. They got everything. Ever since the NES, all the way up to the 360 and PS3, new Simpsons games were constantly coming out. Original games, like Bart vs. the Space Mutants and Bart's Nightmare, ports of those games to consoles like the Game Boy and Game Gear, original games like Hit and Run, Skateboarding, and Road Rage, all the way up to mobile games like Tapped Out. No, wait, fuck you. The most popular
Damn.
console of its time,
Of course, EA.
the PS1, would only ever get one Simpsons game, The Simpsons Wrestling. Now this should have been the best game ever made, mixing America's
Should have.
bad boy with the only valid artistic medium. But Simpsons Wrestling is an infamously bad game. Both the worst
Who could have foreseen this? Yeah, I don't know who developed this. Regardless, this just seems like IP slop. We just made it because it's popular and we could do it.
Simpsons and worst wrestling game ever made. It's barely either, though. The game doesn't feature any wrestling mechanics aside from being in a wrestling ring and being able to bounce off the ropes. If anything, I'd say it's closer to a party fighter like Shrek Super Slam or Power Stone. The gameplay that replaces it is boring.
I mean, even then, you should probably play those instead of whatever this is. Just looking at the moves and how they interact with the characters and the hitboxes just doesn't seem right.
Borderline Dadaism. It's just a rampage on screen at all times. Characters throwing out AoE attacks, running and bouncing, throwing out specials to the point the game chugs to keep up with any of it. Like Homer on a cold Duff brew, I too have seen The Simp. The game ends with a pinfall, but that's just a show of mercy. As a Simpsons game, the team at Big Ape clearly enjoyed the source material and loaded stages with background characters, but the part they couldn't control, the voice lines and jokes, are shockingly bad. There aren't jokes in this game. There are joke-shaped sentences, but they aren't funny.
You couldn't scare me on the scariest day of your life if you had an electrified scaring machine. I'm gonna jump all over you like Brown on beer.
Marge, you're the lightning
Okay.
rod, and I'm the storm. Prepare to get zap-diddly-apped.
Together, this makes for one of the
Alright.
lowest rated PS1 games, licensed games, probably just games overall. And if you're expecting a Shrek
Ugh.
Super Slam turnaround where the game found a new life in the tournament scene, fucking
No.
no, it did not. The game was remembered
Well, the thing about that game is, from what I understood, there was a lot of movement tech to it. So when people discovered the things they could do when they could animation cancel with certain characters, then that actually became a way to express your skill level within the game. And when you have something like that, then there can be some sort of professional tournament behind it. In something like this, I feel like there isn't the possibility for it. The mechanics probably just aren't deep enough in order to have something like that.
By few and bought by a staggeringly high amount for a 2001 PS1 game. Anybody
Really?
who did feel froggy enough to plumb the depths of Simpsons wrestling was almost immediately chased out by a character so strong he shares traits with some of the cheapest fighting game bosses of all time. While there are certainly good characters in the game, like Homer, Frank, and Apu, there's only one character who's the best, and it's the one with divine providence. Ned Flanders.
Really?
Flanders isn't a part of the initial roster and can only be unlocked by beating him in Champion Circuit, the game's hardest mode. It's a good thing you can also unlock him via cheat code though, because the former implies you can beat Ned. How does this work? Because being good in this game implies you can understand it. Well, for Flanders it's simple. The game works on a 3-button system with a charge meter. Square is your regular combo attack, triangle is a special move, and circle is your strongest. The higher level the attack, the more charge it takes. It's not the worst idea for a fighting system out there, and if it was implemented better, I could see it working really well. Flanders, though, has the advantage of having 0 bad buttons, meaning it's impossible to make a wrong choice with him. His combo is strong, able to loop with itself over and over again at the cost of a pittance of super meter. Just like every other combo in the game as well, completing a combo will give you a letter of your taunt meter. And we'll go over what that does later. His triangle attack is to launch out a Bible with an insane amount of tracking, boomeranging back around in case you actually manage to miss with it.
Bruh. Tracking missile? With a zoner? I mean, even if you can just block it when it returns at you, it's still creating a lot of pressure for you.
This is great for either damage dealing or wake up, as when your opponent gets knocked down, you can just spam Bibles that will orbit around them until they stand up and they take the damage.
Okay, now that's just broken busted. What the hell, man? I've never seen a zoner be able to do something like that, and I hope that I never play a fighting game that has one that can do that to me.
This puts him above other projectile characters like Frank and Bart, since his Bibles have a reduced cost and way more efficient way of landing hits. Of course, it's kind of pointless to mention any of this, because his circle attack is actually unbeatable.
Just
At
throw
the
down
cost
lightning.
of a hefty amount of charge up, Ned summons down tracking lightning bolts that deal an insane amount of damage with no warning or wind up. Dodging the bolts is easier said than done, since to do that, you need to be moving constantly. You can't stop or do anything else except avoid the bolts. If you try to attack Ned or go for a throw, you're getting hit. Again and again and again.
Oh boy. Wasn't there also another character in the Nickelodeon fighting game from the last part that we checked out? I don't think they were listed as the most broken character because obviously it was Sheen, but I believe there was a character who also had a similar move where they could just throw down tracking lightning bolts that had barely any wind up to them, if at all. Characters like these make me feel like the people who developed the game maybe don't really know fighting games that well. Because, like, what is even the point of the character if there isn't even any counterplay to it? That the wind up to a particular move from that character is impossible to actually see, or there's just isn't any? It quite literally just becomes a press button to win situation, which I don't think is fun for anybody. Also, of course, if they were specifically creating a completely broken character in order to serve as like a final boss or just a special challenge for people who really want to do it. Ned Flanders being the SNK boss of this game, I suppose would make sense in that aspect. But I suppose I also have to remind myself that this is also pretty far back in the day. Back when all of this stuff we were still kind of figuring out and fighting games didn't really have too much of a formula behind them just yet. Hell, even nowadays some modern fighting games can't get the balancing right.
Remember that taunt meter I mentioned earlier? You can pick them up around the arena or get them from completing combos, and when you get all 5, you can do a taunt which will make you invincible for around 30 seconds. During that invincibility, you can set up for the lightning bolts, since that hefty charge animation is now protected by invincibility. Every character has access to this mechanic, but Flanders uses it the best. The lightning bolts also put a stop to you trying to do anything to Ned while they're active. If you attack him, or grab him, or try pinning him, the lightning bolts will hit and you'll take damage. It's also not a short attack. The attack launches around 7 bolts, which take up a huge amount of time and screen space. They can also OTG, meaning characters on the ground, or even being pinned, get hit all the same.
Run from it.
In case that wasn't enough, it stacks! If you manage to recharge your energy while the first lightning is going off, you can stack on a second set of lightning and deal twice as much damage.
Okay, now you're just having fun. I still think it would be kind of funny to get all of these characters that are just absolutely broken to be put into the same game and duke it out and see who wins. Ned Flanders versus Sheen Wen.
And unlike every other attack in the game, this one doesn't require repeated inputs. This is happening independent of what Flanders is doing. So while you're trying to escape the lightning, he's still comboing you and throwing out Bibles that will never ever stop hunting you. This also includes a regular grab, which makes for a great tool to stop people from getting away if they've been dodging too many bolts. You don't need to attack, just grab them, wait for the lightning to strike, then let them go. Rinse and repeat until you win the round. The church is taking a new stance. Instead of getting new members, they're just going to destroy non-members. Even with all of this, there are still characters who give Flanders trouble, like Willy. Willy is the game's premier grappler. He has a rake, which makes for great range and can protect him from a few lightning bolts. So even if he's dominant, he's not oppressively strong.
Okay.
The first time. Let's say you have a pressing email to get to, or get into a car crash while playing as Ned, and the opponent actually manages to pin you. Ever play Third Strike? If Flanders has his health totally reduced and is pinned, after the pinfall, Flanders will resurrect with all of his health back, meaning he has twice as much health as every other character in the game on top of all of his other tools.
Are you shitting me? So even when you kill him, he comes back? That is basically like, so then I died, but then I lived. Like, what the hell? What is happening? Why this character? Is he also just this way in the cartoon as well? I wouldn't assume so. Why did we pick this guy?
Unlike Gil, the Street Fighter character, this skill doesn't require any investment. He's able to resurrect every round for free with no drawbacks. You don't even lose meter for doing it. It's important to remember that despite being a character with boss-level abilities, Ned isn't a boss character. That's Mr. Burns, Kang, and Kodos. While those guys, and gal, are certainly tough, they don't hold a candle to Flanders. Kang and Kodos especially have gigantic models, making it impossible for them to avoid the lightning. He's stronger than the boss characters. Hopefully when
So what I was talking about earlier goes completely out the window. He's not supposed to be the SNK boss of the game. He's just a dude who believes in the power of God. So wait, you're telling me that Ned has the power of both God and anime on his side? I guess you could throw in the power of Western cartoons in there as well. Just even triple the power. The Holy Trinity, the Triforce, if you will.
DLC drops and they add Just Stamp the Ticket Man, we can get the meta back under control. And now on to Japan's Simpsons, Kamen Rider. I didn't know just how many of you...
Oh boy, I can already see the comments.
Zero, you have to dive into the Kamen Rider rabbit hole. You need to learn about the tokusatsu stuff.
Honestly, I'm not opposed to it. I am a little bit scared though, considering how deep I know that rabbit hole will go.
I liked Kamen Rider, and I was very violently made aware that I am outnumbered. We'll be returning to Super Climax Heroes for this one, because Kamen Rider Skull is far from the only character who's broken. In fact, even if we just try narrowing down the roster to banned projectile-based zoners from Kamen Rider Double, somehow there's still overlap. And this time, the subject gets a bit more focus in Kamen Rider Double. It's Kamen Rider Double! Double is, as the name implies, more than one guy. Protege of Kamen Rider Skull, Shotaro Hidari tries to keep the city of Futo safe from dopants, criminals using evil flash drives called Gaia memories to transform into monsters to commit crimes.
I see.
To help him out is a mysterious guy named Philip, who wears a matching belt to Shotaro, which allows Shotaro to become Kamen Rider Double after absorbing Philip's energy. As if being a package deal wasn't enough, Double also comes packing a load of purified Gaia memories that allow him to transform into 9 different forms depending on which one the two load in before they transform.
Oh, wait. Are you telling me that in the game they can use all these 9 different transformations as well? Did they go above and beyond to make sure that was a thing?
This is translated into the game by giving Kamen Rider Double the nuttiest gimmick I've ever seen on a fighting game character.
Oh boy.
There are odder ones, fighting game characters with crafting elements and drawing mini-games, but none of them match just how nuts Kamen Rider Doubles is.
Man, I love Nine's design a lot. Shocker, I know. But yeah, trying to master her in BlazBlue Central Fiction was gonna take a lot. A lot that, I wasn't really prepared for. So I ended up settling on playing Bullet instead. Maybe someday I'll get back to it. Probably with Entropy Effect too.
For me, I play Kamen Rider Super Climax Heroes on a Wii Pro controller. And in this case, the game uses the D-pad instead of the control stick for movement. And that stick is sometimes dedicated to a character's gimmick instead of movement. In Kamen Rider Double's case, pressing left or right on the left stick will have you cycling through various Gaia memories to mix and match them to transform into his 9 different versions. You can match Cyclone, Heat, and Luna memories to Joker, Metal, and Trigger memories.
I see, so that's why we showed 9. 9 has the gimmick of storing 3 different elements, and depending on the order of the elements, or I guess the amount of elements that you have, it changes the special ability that you can throw out. Plus, you can also store a spell that you've prepared by using her DP input, I think. At an incredibly high level, it can be extremely technical and super hype if you're able to call out something your opponent's going to do by pre-planning your moves in order to have the right spell for it. But this one seems to take it to a whole new level.
The left half dictates the elemental properties of the move, while the right determines the weapon. So his standard form, Cyclone Joker, gets a huge tornado attack on a brawling moveset. Heat Metal gets a long bow staff with a fire buff, and then there's Luna. The moon is a lot of things, but top of the list is Stretchy. Luna gives the 3 Gaia memories it can be matched up with insane buffs. Metal's staff range is increased by a huge amount. Joker doesn't have to be in the same time zone to combo you with mile-long normals that make Dhalsim look normal. Trigger, meanwhile, is the other broken half, since it gives him a gun. Skull proved having a gun in this game is a huge advantage, but the Cyclone and Heat versions both proved to be pretty great on their own, either giving you a fast rapid fire in Cyclone, or the best anti-wake-up in the game on Heat. So you take Luna, the best of the left-sided memories, and mix it with Trigger, the best of the right-sided memories, and you get a goddamn nuclear bomb. This is Kamen Rider Double Luna Trigger. The only one of the 9 forms to be so strong, it's banned. Now, what good does Stretchy Arms do for using a gun? Getting close is nice, but the whole appeal is you get to stay at a distance. Well, the stretch this time isn't applied to Double, but the gun. Instead of firing out the rapid shot or strong shot of the other forms, Luna Trigger will fire out a volley of tracking shots. These shots have an insane degree of homing to them, able to hunt down opponents on the furthest ends of the map from Double. No matter where they move to, the shots will follow, and can only be snuffed out by a dodge or a block. The tracking is so potent that escaping behind Luna Trigger still isn't enough. You'd think that getting out of the line of sight of a zoner would be enough to escape, but no.
Nope.
This is a zoner who can hit you without even aiming at you. The tracking isn't the only nasty thing about his shots, it's the amount of shots he fires. you might be able to count.
You know, considering that this is like the moon side as well as the best weapon on the other side being the gun, I think Moon Knight would be very proud. I can see Kamen Rider Double and Moon Knight being the bestest of all friends. I wouldn't be surprised if when you use this move in the game, you can hear very silently in the distant background somebody shouting, "The moon haunts you." And it does. It really does. In this game and in Marvel Rivals.
Counter the first one, but are you going to be able to counter all of them? All 11 shots? Luna Trigger easily counters rider cancels. Imagine using up your whole block meter to break away, and then they just keep hitting you. How do you fight back? If you feel like holding down the block button to try to escape from the shots, that's not going to work either. Because the amount of shots Luna Trigger fires is enough to melt through the shield meter. And if you lose all your shield, you can't block for quite a while. Dodging seems like a slightly safer option, but you have to account for just how many shots you're dodging. The first dodge is going to dodge the first shot, but are you going to be able to dodge the 5 more coming after that? Luna Trigger's actual moves that use these homing shots as well are crazy good. You can go for a heavy, which just fires out 1, press it again and you've got the next few minutes set, and then 1 more press finishes it off. HHH is about as complex as Luna Trigger combos get. Your physical attacks aren't anything to write home about,
you're not gonna mess up
you're
that
piloting
combo.
an Apache attack helicopter and complaining about the radio stations. You're gonna be fine. Besides, it's not like you're also not doing some heinous shit with those. The light and heavy combo is a nearly inescapable loop that only stops when you let it. Luna Trigger's special attack button, though, is where the real damage is done. On the surface, it looks just like HH, but compare the two. Here's HH, and here's special. Similar, right? Similar damage,
Similar, but the
animation.
projectiles are more distance out.
But did you notice something? With HH, his rider bar goes up. And with special, his rider bar goes down. In no world is there a reasonable explanation, but they gave Luna Trigger's special shot meter drain. And if all 11 shots land...
Oh, so that's what's happening. You're draining your opponent's What the hell? So you don't get to use any of your broken and special moves. Oh, lovely. Then yeah, of course this would be banned. It basically is a button that says you don't get to play the game anymore. How is that going to be fun? It's like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And going second. You don't get to play the game. You just have to hope that you draw the out somehow, if that's even possible.
It takes away a full 1/4 of your meter. All of these shots as well push the opponent to full screen, creating a whole stage's worth of space between Luna Trigger and whoever he's fighting. If you do manage to get in on Luna Trigger, well, Skull's training serves well, since the trigger forms all have the dodge shot rider art, like Skull. Difference is they don't do 1/5 of your health on hit, but it's about as good. These shots have a lot of nasty properties.
Imagine if it also did that.
They're amazing for zoning, they're great up close since the reaction time to dodge to them is severely lessened, they're amazing rushdown tools since the jumping shots can act as mix-ups, the jumping special feels like a tactical strike, they even naturally counter the few weaknesses Luna Trigger has. A really good way to get around Luna Trigger is to pick a rider with the zigzag dodge rider art, like Kabuto and the Bee. This is one of the only reliable ways to get away from Luna Trigger shots.
Okay.
However, if they get close enough, the shots they're dodging will simply swing back and hit them anyway.
Bruh.
Not that it matters, the special drains meter, remember? And rider arts cost half a bar.
Oh, so you can get to a point where you won't even be able to do it anymore. Jeez, the counterplay gets counterplayed.
Full shot takes out a whole bar. It's not hard for Luna Trigger to just never let the opponent have any special meter. That's not even all of it, because 4 or 6S gives you a temporary buff to your special move, which in Luna Trigger's case takes away half of a full bar instead of a 1/4. Luna's biggest weakness is low defenses. It only takes a few good strings to leave him on death's door. If that does happen though, chances are Luna will still be left with a ton of red health, which after a while will recover naturally. All Luna Trigger has to do is spam shots incessantly until the opponent
my
either
goodness.
dies or you get your red health back, which they can do by doing what they've been doing for the entire round. Let's say we're in a fantasy though, and there's a situation that Luna Trigger isn't favored in. I don't know if that's during a 2-on-1 fight or if Satan challenged you to a game, but there is a solution to even that. You can just stop using Luna Trigger mid-match. Remember, Luna Trigger
true.
is one of 9 different forms that Double can use in a match. If the situation calls for it, you can use Cyclone Joker, Cyclone Metal, Luna Joker, Flame.
And I assume that they're not bad forms. They're all pretty good in their own right for the particular situation, just not as broken busted as the Luna form. And that's kind of insane. Like, I've seen fighting game characters with several different stances and different forms that they can take, usually about 2, maybe even 3. But to play this type of character and to have this entire toolkit behind it, like, you just have so many more things you can do compared to all of your opponents that I don't even think it's fair anymore. Not that this game was going for fairness, and it was definitely going for, like, accuracy. At least when it came to all the different powers that they showcased within the show, I would assume. But you are basically the ultimate toolkit character, even more so than most Shoto characters out there. And it doesn't seem like the execution for any of the forms is that hard. You just gotta have to remember which forms that you need and how to swap between them efficiently for the particular situation.
Trigger. You have 9 characters worth of moves all in one. Luna Trigger is so strong that if the CPU picks a tag team and uses both characters at the same time, Luna Trigger is still the favored one. I tested myself to see if I could beat the final boss without moving and just spamming shots. And after a minute of fighting, it became clear this was too easy, and I switched to just mashing special. I got a perfect.
Oh
Luna
my
Trigger
god.
is unsurprisingly banned like Skull.
Yeah.
And even less surprisingly is the reason why. Along with low stamina, Luna Trigger also has low damage. Compared to Skull, of course, but the worst part of Luna Trigger is that it takes a really long time to kill anything.
So the match just is not fun to watch. Don't do this in competitive. It is an absolute nightmare. Like that other video from Bumbles that we watched with the 3D Dragon Ball Fighter game, where the optimal strat was to just go up and down, go up and down, go up and down. That was boring AF.
Unless you chance going in for melee, which will speed things up a bit, Luna Trigger takes all day to end a round.
I mean, why would you?
So even if he's impossible to lose with, you might not want to pick him by virtue of how boring he is. The funniest part of all of this, though, is that Kamen Rider Double isn't banned, just Luna Trigger. You can use any other combination of Double's forms that you want, you just can't switch to Luna Trigger. Man, Double must be a boring show if every episode they just bust out Luna Trigger and camp the monster of the week to death.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm sure there's one smug asshole watching right now, wiggling his ears, saying, "Ooh, I knew all of these already. I am very smart." Bring it in! Bring in the big one! You're about to get slammed, bitch. Bring in the big one! There it is! Nice and big for ya! Lego games. A cornerstone of a lot of childhoods, launched a 2-decade spanning series that's still getting new games, and half of them are Batman, kept travelers.
Yeah, why are there so many Lego Batman games? Surprisingly, I've never actually played one of the Lego Batman ones. I think I played like a Lego Star Wars game and a Lego Indiana Jones one way back when. They were on the PlayStation 2, right? I don't know, last time I said that I played Banjo-Kazooie on the PlayStation 2 and I got absolutely cooked by the comments. That was one of the only consoles that I owned. I probably played Banjo at a friend's house. But I've heard a lot of great things about the Lego games. I just don't remember them very well.
Tale employed for the next 500 years, one of the most important series of all time. I think a lot of these games' early successes can be tied to people's parents. Back when they were the ultimate say on what games we got, and seeing a perfect crossover of what we liked, Lego, with what they liked, old movies, was the perfect middle ground where we could both enjoy it.
That's fair enough.
You'll have people arguing which game is best, but nobody denies which is the most iconic. Right behind Lego Indiana Jones 2: The Adventure Continues, which added one new movie, is LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga. It condensed every Star Wars film at the time into a single game and provided the same value as 2 full releases. It included over 100 characters, unique builds for each level that could be recreated in real life with LEGO, and as a perfect little brother game, came with co-op so 2 players could play at the same time. This has to be one of the biggest selling features of the LEGO games. The ability to play with siblings, parents, friends, even grandparents, thanks to the simple puzzles and gameplay, pushed these games really far. For as explored as these games are, though, there's one aspect to them that I think very few people know about. These games are cooperative, but did you know LEGO Star Wars has a competitive mode? Yeah, the 2-player arcade is a room next to the Episode 1 door that takes you to an honest-to-goodness LEGO fighting game, where you and your opponent each pick a character.
Oh my god, that's actually really cool. Do they have just like a bunch of little game modes that you can do there? Because there seem to be a bunch of other doors too. I mean, just look at this roster, man. If this was like a full-blown fighting game, this might be like the biggest one out there, or one of the biggest ones.
And duke it out. You'll also have the option of swapping between a Jedi, Sith, bounty hunter, droid, small and high jump character the game picks out at random, so when Gonk Droid v Gonk Droid finally loses its appeal, you can play a real game. Before getting into the characters of this mode, big shout out to Wishful Ranger 22 for being the only person to ever play this mode, and turning me on to all the information I'm about to regurgitate. I wouldn't care about this if it wasn't for them. Now this mode does have 3 undisputed, literally impossible to dispute best characters. I would also like to highlight the worst real quick. See, with every character on the table, you're going to run into a few bad options. Namely, every non-combat robot character.
They're not going to be able to do much.
Like C-3PO and astromechs like R2-D2 are used exclusively in-game for puzzles. They open doors no other characters can, and that's their purpose.
Gotcha.
They have no combat capabilities and are only used for puzzling. So putting characters without the ability to fight in a fighting game is a recipe for disaster. Protocol droids and astromechs can't deal damage. C-3PO can't even attack. R2-D2 can at least use a zapper to temporarily stun droid enemies, but that's all he's got going for him. If you get stuck with these characters, you'll have no way to actually kill the opponent. There's also Jar Jar, Boss Nass, Dexter Jetster, Pre-Reveal Emperor. These are all characters who straight up don't have attacks. There's no way for them to win the game because they can't accomplish the one goal the game mode has. They don't even have the excuse of being able to complete puzzles in the main mode. They're functionally useless in every regard.
I see. So this is what we were talking about then with fighting game characters without the mechanics to even fight back. To the game's credit, like, this wasn't meant to be a fully blown fighting game. It's just a fun little game mode that you can play. But ultimately, it's undeniable that within this particular mode, they're just not doing a whole lot.
Somehow, though, Jar Jar might still be the worst of them because, unlike the rest, he's a high jump character. Meaning that you're likely to get him in the high jump slot when the game doles out the random character pool. However, to balance out the characters who can't win, there have to be characters who can't lose. Of course, the lightsaber characters are above all the blasters by default, by virtue of being able to deflect blaster bolts, but there is subdivision within that ranking. Namely, Darth Vader, Dooku, and the Emperor are all stronger than any of the Jedi in the game.
That makes sense.
Because they're not afraid to fight dirty and can use their force powers on other characters. Vader gets the force choke, while Dooku and Palpatine use force lightning. The range on these abilities is amazing, and the ability to stop a character dead in their tracks is really strong, along with the slow bleed effect on each of the moves. If you want to use a lightsaber character, there is no better in the game than these 3. The bounty hunters as well are extremely good in this mode, excelling at mobility thanks to their jetpacks, destructiveness with their bombs, and damage output with their blasters. Where most blasters deal 1 heart of damage when they land, Jango and Boba deal 2. meaning 4 clean shots to kill an opponent becomes 2. If you collect the power orb that doubles damage and makes you totally
That's
invincible
one
for
shot?
a minute, an actual minute, an honest-to-God minute, Django and Boba become one-hit kill characters.
Yikes.
But see, the flaw here is that they allow themselves to be hit at all. There's a character who takes those strengths and adds on impenetrable defense.
Oh god, we're not even there yet.
Droidekas are the most infamous enemies in the game, since they come at the end of the very first level, and have an impenetrable shield that shed thousands of studs as kids threw themselves at them, like so many rats into so many deep fryers.
No.
And unlike a lot of enemies like this, you actually have the chance to prove, no, they really are that strong. Droidekas are the best non-bullshit characters in the mode, taking that double damage blaster from the bounty hunters and doubling it. It can fire 4 blaster bolts at
insane,
once,
man.
and instantly kills anybody unlucky enough to get hit. If you want to hit back, too bad, because the shield takes 10 saber swings to break.
That is a lot of saber swings. So what is that shield made out of? I feel like shields in Star Wars in general are very specific. they don't make too much logical sense, but it's there to make sure that whatever plot needs to happen happens. When I was watching Star Wars as a kid, I always found these particular droids to be very cool though. Now, while I don't remember too many details about the Star Wars movies, just like the general gist of each one, I suppose the movies made a pretty big impression on me as a kid. Because only recently I discovered that this particular habit that I have whenever I'm talking to my friends through Discord and whatnot, whenever I need to confirm that I, know about something, I'll always type Roger Roger, which apparently I'm almost certain I got it from the droids from Star Wars. I always thought they were cool, and I guess I picked up a few of the things that they would say in my own speech pattern.
And infinite blaster bolts. Only lightsaber characters can break the shield. If you have a blaster character, you're dead.
Rip.
You want to know the only thing that can break a Droideka shield with any amount of comfort? Another Droideka! When your only counter is yourself, you're Toki from Hokuto no Ken. And no surprises, that's a synonym for broken. Droidekas would be the best characters in the game, if everybody was playing by the rules. See, there are actually 3 characters left, and I wouldn't blame people for never knowing because their unlock conditions are kinda strict. As in 100% the game strict.
Ooh.
You have to put in a lot of effort to unlock them, but once you do, you get something well worth it. Introducing Ghost Obi-Wan, Ghost Anakin, and Ghost Yoda.
Wait, do the ghost characters just not take any damage? Is that what's going to happen here?
These 3 are functionally the same characters as their non-ghost versions, taking from the 3's appearance at the end of Return of the Jedi during the Ewok dance party. The reason they're the best in the game is actually the same as the droids and Jar Jar, though. They're missing a basic mechanic of the game. I'd say not being able to take damage is on a different level to dealing damage, though. Yeah, the ghosts are completely invincible from all forms of attack. There's nothing in the game that can damage them short of falling off a ledge.
Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Star Wars lore, I would assume that there isn't really a case where a Force Ghost would actually come back and fight someone. Because if that were to happen, I feel like it would be kind of busted. Actually, can a Force Ghost affect the physical world? Like, can they still use their Force powers? Or are they just sort of like a lingering spirit, lingering will, if you will, of the Jedi in question? The way the Force itself works is actually really interesting. We had talked a lot about it during our Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 playthrough, but there certainly are several facets of it that I still have yet to understand.
But without any attacks that can push ghosts, you have no options. And since they're still Jedi on top of being ghosts, that means there's still a chance during the random character select that you'll get a ghost added to your character pool. And at that point, you run into trouble. There is literally no way for a ghost character to lose once they're selected. And since both characters share a character pool, the ultimate counter to a ghost player is to pick a ghost yourself.
So
that means
nothing
even
happens.
more than the Droidekas, the only way to counter a ghost is to select a ghost. And from there, you wait. You sit there, glaring a hole in the side of the head of whoever you're playing against until you agree to start playing the game again. It's pretty clear between the characters who can't win and the characters who can't lose that this mode got almost as much attention from the players as it did from the developers. And it's in no way meant to be a serious competitive mode.
Oh yeah,
There is an
it's for
undeniable
fun.
funniness, though, to hearing a fighting game character is incapable of taking damage.
My favorite from this video definitely has to be the dude who brought a gun to a sword fight. Like, that's kind of insane, especially with how Bushido Blade is set up to be, that you'd have a character that is just so counter to the entire mechanics of the game. But yeah, as always, let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next one.